Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching Elemental, starring Leia Lewis, Mamoto Athie, and directed by Peter Sohn. So Pixar has kind of been on the down low when it comes to Disney's animated films. They used to be considered one of the greatest studios in all of animation, where it felt like they could do no wrong and they made hit after hit. But ever since 2020, things have really been going downhill for the studio. Not that their films are terrible per se. It's just that most of them don't manage to reach the same standards that the people have set for them. That was especially seen with last year's Lightyear, and with Elemental, it seems that this is going to be their biggest box office bomb to date. Does that mean it's a bad film, though? I think there's actually some things about this one I like, but let's get to the story, shall we? The story revolves around Ember, played by Leia Lewis, who is in a city known as Element City that's full of beings of the different elements: air, water, earth, and they all live in one city in supposed harmony. But it's clear that parts of the city were not built for fire people in mind. And since her family is running a shop that's also dealing with a bit of a flooding problem, it's very clear that Ember has to pay back the sacrifices that her parents gave her in order to properly keep the business running and to keep the fire people happy. But when she runs into a water guy named Wade, played by Mamoto Athie, she gets to see exactly what she's missing in her life, and maybe that her fiery temper is actually telling her something that she didn't consider beforehand. But so yeah, this film is basically a romantic comedy, basically with a with a bit of a story about immigration, gentrification, and a lot of other issues that do fit together into one cohesive story about the city. But unlike something like Zootopia, that happened to weave those issues in rather well with it while still making for an entertaining film in its own right, this film feels like it's a little bit sloppier in its execution. That's not to say that the visuals are bad. Visually speaking, the film is rather creative and inventive. As I'd expect from Pixar, when they have a budget of $200 million, the money is certainly on the screen. Plus, both Wade and Ember do manage to make for a pretty cute couple. They actually do have real conversations that do feel like they'd fit in universe and in a traditional romantic comedy. And I really love their designs that make quite a lot of use of their fire and water forms. Not only that, but I really like how the element city feels like it's built for every single element outside of fire. Like not only is the city just starting to get used to these people, but they're even banned from certain areas, which can have some real life implications there, like allusions to real life in an allegorical sense. Granted, the allegory doesn't completely work in this film's favor, and there are even some moments where the film's logic does dip, for, and some of it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But at the same time, I do like the whole idea of an immigrant story told in this way, where kids can understand it, but at the same time, adults can draw illusions from it. Plus, it's not like the film has any terrible messages when it comes to the characters and when it comes to the story they're overall trying to tell. It's more about two people who come from completely different worlds trying to make a relationship work when they feel like it really can't. I think people can draw a lot of stuff from that. Unfortunately, this film doesn't exactly have the creative spark or the overall cohesion of its story that makes Pixar's movies that reaches the previous Pixar movies' greatness. On top of that, it does feel like some of its ideas were handled better in other films, like Zootopia, for example. But at the same time, I do think it does have its own niche. It does have genuinely good humor, genuinely interesting visual gags, and its central romance does overall work as a heartwarming thing. So that's why I think Elemental does deserve a 7. Not bad, but definitely not going to save Pixar anytime soon, and I'm sorry that they're losing so much money over it. See you next time.